Bruce, you want to talk about VHF or field day now?
Let's talk about field day. So there were a bevy of new things that were supposed to happen for field day 2023. Some of them did, a lot of them got rolled back. So if you were paying attention late last year after the event and earlier this year about some of the changes that they were proposing, there was a bunch of changes that not really sure where they got rolled back, but some of them got rolled back. So the highlights, and this is online, by the way, all you have to do is drop off at the ARRL site, look up anything for field day rules. They've actually got it in bold everywhere in the document. There's a handful of things that are new for this particular year. One of them is related to GOTA, get on the air stations. In the past, there was a cap. There was a limit to the number of contacts that you could make for points. There was never a limit on how many contacts you could make, but only so many of them would qualify for a maximum amount of bonus points. New for 2023 in this particular case is that there's no limit to the number of contacts made by the GOTA station. Every contact is worth 5 points regardless of mode. And all of the regular rules for that apply still. So before, I think it was a cap of 100, couple hundred points. No cap now. Here's the one that literally, with traditional ARRL style, confuses the holy you-know-what out of me. And I'm going to read this exactly for what it says. This happens to be under miscellaneous rules. New for 2023. Each contact must include contemporaneous direct initiation by both operators making a contact. Initiation of a contact may be made by either local or remote control. Fully automatic or fully automated contacts are prohibited. I think what they're saying is that you can't schedule a contact. I think they're saying that you're supposed to be calling CQ and making the contact. I think that's what they're saying. But they had been contemporaneous. Why they would do that, I can't tell you. Related to power multipliers, new for 2023. And this is interesting and not interesting at the same time. Power output for classes A, B, and C cannot exceed 500 watts peak power. Power output for classes D, E, and F cannot exceed 100 watts. And then there are still all the usual things that fall in there. If you want to go in for multipliers and bonus points, and you want to be savage during field day and do all of your contacts at 5 watts or less, all of those things are still possible. I will tell you that the biggest thing I believe that the rule really applies to is class D. Folks that were running from home, that were, candidly probably running their regular station stuff just because they can. It is field day, it is a contest. Why not do your full gallon plus, right? I think that was probably the biggest change. Obviously, if you're mobile, you would normally be running lower power, but it looks like A, B, and C now are at 500 watts. So they're trying to balance this out where you're mobile and field, and you could theoretically be as high as 500. I don't know that anybody was ever doing that before, but maybe that's their way of equalizing the homes from running their kilowatt and a half, and 2 kilowatt stations. I don't know. A couple of years ago, I remember very painfully well what was happening when we had the class 1D stations that were out there playing regular contest rules. That's really it. There wasn't really anything else. It was just a couple of handfuls of things. I think that next year we will probably go out and see a lot more changes that will come. But for this year, that was really it. Any questions about the field day portion? I'm not watching chat, Rob.
No questions about field day and chat.
Got it. And then for the VHF contest, situation normal. It'll be interesting. I think that today was probably the best day this season so far this year for us down here in the lower left part of the continental coast, for almost having a shot at Europe. I had receive hits in Spain this morning on 6 meters, first of the year. I had 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, just a handful of hits in Europe, but no replies. So I was making it there, but not getting anybody in contact. And I think only the larger and largest stations on 6 so far. And most of them are well up the coast or in Central California, or in Central California coastal areas, actually made it into Europe. But hey, let me look, because PSK reporters are a wonderful thing when you're paying attention in the moment. I was minus 20 dB into France. I was minus 17 into Portugal, and I made it into Spain a handful of times at about negative 10. So we actually had a window this morning. I don't know if it's still there or not, but making it into Europe.
You're talking about 6.
I am talking about 6. And as far as the North American continental coast on digital, it's almost perfectly wide open. There's all kinds of spots that I've got just from tinkering right before the meeting and during the initial phases of the meeting where I just pushed the button and looked away.
I'm happy
So
to get 2 grid squares and you're talking to Spain.
So 6 meters is in good shape on digital, but you're going to need to be patient. It's not gangbusters. Yesterday morning on 6, if you were playing around, we had a central coastal California event leaning up into Oregon. I was in 2 different meetings that I had to monitor and listen to, not participate in, unless something weird happened. So I was pushing buttons and looking at a different computer screen, and I pretty much had all of Central California and up to the coast of Oregon on 6, exclusive to me. I don't think anybody else was on. Had a good time for about an hour. And if you're on HF, I don't know whether anybody's been paying attention or watching this week, but if you were on HF, the daytime has been kind of the doldrums, but night times on 15 have been really stellar between about 7 o'clock at night and about 11 o'clock at night on digital. Tons of Europe, lots of interesting places that are not normally reachable by a modest station. And when I say modest, I don't mean giant towers and big Yagis. I mean modest vertical antennas and maybe a wire or 2. Lots of good stuff on 15 digital, between about 7 and 11 o'clock local time. So be on the lookout for that. For the VHF contest, kickoff for us is 11 o'clock. I would expect that most of the stuff that will happen locally will just be a frenzy. Everybody will be stepping on each other like they normally do. The mosh pit of phone will always be there on FM. Do what you can do. The first couple of hours will be high activity window, and then candidly, people are going to start going to lunch. And obviously, with this being, for some of you anyway, a Father's Day weekend, it's going to kind of impact and impinge on some of the activities. Families will be getting together. People will be doing dinners, lunches, things like that over the weekend. I would expect it to be maybe not as busy as it normally would. You'll have to just go out and pick up things as they go. I can't predict when the traffic's going to be and when it's going to happen, but we'll see how it plays out. But other than that, 6 meters on digital has been good. It's been very interesting. Hasn't been gangbusters, but there was an event earlier this week, I think it was, or it was last Sunday, where it was a North American scatter event, as I will call it. Effectively, what that means is that anybody anywhere is going to hear you. I had my modest beam antenna pointed due north, straight at the 000 mark. And I was getting hits that were equally strong and contacts that were equally strong all the way down to the tip of Florida, off to the side and down below me where it shouldn't be, and just all over North America. So It would have been a really good event for anybody that had a dipole up that could tune the 6. It would have been a really good event for anybody that had a vertical omnidirectional up. You would have been able to have communicated pretty much all over North America without a whole lot of trouble. So with that, no additional traffic other than good luck. Hope to hear you in the event that's coming up. We will maybe show you how to go out and take the logs from the actual contest and get them in the logbook of the world next month, next meeting. Remember that there's a short window of time to get your logs turned in these days for the ARRL event. I believe it's what, 10 days? No longer the month or 2 months it used to be. It's like 10 days. So
Yep.
if you got questions about scoring or what to do, things like that, I am generally going to be looking at email probably every couple of hours, just because I've got people that are rovers letting me know where they're at, where they're going to be at, hopefully. So I'll be keeping an eye on email. It's not hard to find me. Sadly, it's not hard to find me in text messaging either. You can probably text me a message and I will look at the phone occasionally as well if you got questions, try to help out. Other than that, no additional traffic. Hopefully looking forward again, in-person meeting in the month of September. And other than that, back to the rest of the group for any follow-up questions before we close.
Bruce, thank you. Any questions or comments about VHF or field day? Looking at the field day locator map right now, I see 3 pins in the map for San Diego County. So we have Fallbrook and Ears and Convair 220 have put pins in the map for. So thank you for those pins. Oh, wait, there's another one here. Imperial Valley has added a pin. So out in Imperial El Centro, there's a pin now for that group out there. So if you have a location, please add it. Jay, go ahead.
Sorry, doesn't someone normally set up at Lake Poway as well? I mean, I'm not sure which club it is, but I remember hearing that they've been doing that pretty consistently. Anybody?
I heard on Nets, Poway was talking about setting up, but I don't see a pin in the map for them yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Jay, this is Mike. Yes, they're it's the Poway Amateur Communications Team, I think it is. But yes, they definitely would be there.
Okay.
Thanks, Mike. Any other questions, comments about field day or VHF?
I have a question about the in-person meeting. Is that, so we've talked in the past that would be strictly in person, not hybrid? Is that
correct?
Where we're headed?
I would expect that.
Okay.
At least for the initial meetings, and depending on what venue we land into, because I'm looking at 2 different venues, we will probably not have any online capabilities to go out and make it happen in a hybrid form. Not initially.
Okay. Well, maybe we can talk offline about that.
Okay. So let's see, we're ready to segue, I think, to other topics. David, you want to ask your questions now, or would that be a good time?
Yeah, sure. On the Thursday night net, I heard somebody mention something about hamtasticsd.com, something that's happening on the 17th. So I was just going to ask about that, if anybody knows anything about that or can share more information. And also, if there's any of us that are motorcyclists, the Mark HQ Motorcycle Amateur Radio Club is looking for both additional members and additional people to participate in an event on the 24th.
Which group is that again?
The Motorcycle Amateur Radio Club.
Are they local?
They're up in Orange County, but yeah, so somewhat local.
Okay. So the everything that I know about the Hamtastic event is on their website. hamtastic.sd.com. And I haven't seen a schedule yet, but I know there's been chatter in social media and some nets about it coming up on next weekend, June 17th. Looking at their website right now, I don't see a schedule. They're talking about some of the things that are going to be happening, but I've not seen a schedule for that event yet. Unless somebody on the call here has more information about a schedule or what the presentations are going to be.
Unfortunately not. I think the first that we had heard about that ourselves was literally on the air 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure about who's doing coordination or who's doing schedule deconflicting, but I think we've got 2 other events. We've got the public support event that we're going to have a number of hams taking care of. And we've also got Kids Day on that same day that we're going to have a number of our folks in the community supporting. So I don't know what the coordination was like or the calendar deconflicting was like. And again, we only heard about this, I believe, 2 weeks ago ourselves. So
Rob?
not really sure what the engagement's going to be like.
Patrick, comment?
Yes, so to follow up on that, and I talked to Hank, it's supposed to take place on the 17th from 9 o'clock until 3 o'clock. A lot of the focus would be covered primarily on the emergency services because they'd be discussing it at Cal OSHA or Cal Operation of Emergency Services. And it's going to be at the fire training facility right next to Lindbergh Field at the old RTC command area just across from NTC. And some of the things that would be discussed would be something like cordon or things. I see Danny has its hands up too. But those are some of the things that will be covered, and some things will also be covered about emergency operation using HF for field activities. And then there's shares supposed to be one of those things that's covered. Now that's just the preliminaries from which I got when I called Hank to find out more about it. But as is indicated, it should have included his email or his phone number on that website too for follow-on information. And that's what I have there. I see Danny in there, so go ahead, Danny.
Yeah, so following up on that, that location is going to be the San Diego Fire Training Center near Naval Training Center. And Johnny Hudson is going to be talking about ARRL and shares. And I'm sure there'll be other folks talking about that or providing presentations on that topic. And there was some other going to be mentioned too. And let's see that trying to think about some other stuff, but I know it's kind of a short notice. The notification was very short, and would like to participate as a rec crosser, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen because we have our own obligations to meet too. So I did talk to our activity lead, Bob Birch, but it's kind of too short of a notice to grab a canopy and grab radios, go down there and we'll set them up for display and actual use. But yeah, but I'll promote it as much as I can. But my concern is the short notification, and that's all I have.
Hey, Danny, thanks for that comment. Anything else on Hamtastic while we're talking about it? Okay. David, all your questions answered so far? Okay, very good. Thanks, David. Other questions, comments, or anything anybody would like to bring up while we have the meeting open? Okay. Bruce, Dave, anything else?
I don't have anything more.
No additional traffic. Let's wrap it up.
Okay, Dave, that's a wrap.
All right, we'll go ahead and stop the recording and say thanks everybody for being here. Had a good turnout this morning and covered a lot of good stuff. So thanks everybody for being there.
Thanks, folks.
Thanks for visiting, everybody.
Thanks all. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.